Help me hit 4,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I used to think I could read my wife, Leora, better than anyone else in the world. She was the kind of woman whose emotions glowed on her face. Smiles, thoughtful eyes, and a calmness that always steadied me. But the afternoon she walked through our front door beaming after her so-called lunch date. Something in her smile felt foreign, too bright, too rehearsed. "Storm, you won't believe how amazing my day was," she said, dropping her purse on the couch and spinning like she was floating. I blinked. Leora rarely spun. She wasn't the spinning type. She was the quiet morning coffee, paint by the window, knit your scars into art type. "And this lunch date?" I asked lightly, though something heavy pressed against my ribs. "Oh, it was wonderful. Truly refreshing. Kai is just, well, he's hilarious." Her tone landed wrong. Kai was her new coworker, someone she'd mentioned twice. Once casually, once too casually. I nodded, pretending to grab a glass of water while her words repeated in my head on a loop. Wonderful, refreshing, hilarious. People didn't describe colleagues that way unless something inside them had shifted. For the next few days, she floated through the house like someone living inside a daydream. She hummed while cooking. She smiled at her phone. At night, she fell asleep with the kind of peacefulness people only have when they're escaping into something new. I tried not to spiral. I told myself I trusted her. But trust shouldn't have to keep reminding itself it exists. By the third week, something snapped inside me. Not anger, but clarity. If she was drifting toward someone else, I needed the truth, not a slow extinction. So I paid a visit to the restaurant she'd mentioned. The manager showed me the reservation book. No entry under her name. No lunch date with anyone named Kai. Just a blank page where her story should have been. The drive home felt like sinking in slow motion. That night I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to know the full picture, not fragments. So I paid a professional, someone discreet, to follow Kai. I hated the idea, hated myself a little for sinking to that level, but the alternative was drowning in uncertainty. 3 days later, the investigator sent me photos. They weren't taken at restaurants or parks or anywhere two people might meet for a harmless meal. They were taken outside a pottery studio, a tiny place named Claylight. Leora had always loved pottery. She'd stopped going years ago after losing her confidence. But the pictures showed her laughing, her hands covered in brown clay, her eyes locked on Kai's like he was the sun warming her back to life. Felt like watching someone else live my wife's joy. But the final photo was the one that shattered me. It showed her and Kai walking out together, clay on their clothes, her head tilted toward him, his smile too comfortable, too familiar. And then she hugged him. Not a polite hug, a slow, sinking into someone hug. I stared at the photo so long the edges blurred. That night, she came home glowing again. And I finally understood. She wasn't coming home to me. She was returning from somewhere she felt alive. So I decided it was time she paid for it. Not with revenge, not with cruelty, but with truth. The truth she owed our marriage, the truth she'd been borrowing time from. The next morning, I set the printed photos on the kitchen table. When she walked in, humming as usual, she froze mid-step. Her eyes drifted to the papers, and her face drained of color. "Storm," she whispered, barely audible. "Sit," I said gently. My voice surprised both of us with how calm it was. She sat like a fragile thing placed too close to an edge. "I need you to tell me why my wife has been lying to me," I said. "Why she said she had lunch dates when she was at a pottery studio. Why she's smiling for someone else the way she used to smile for me." Tears welled instantly. Her lips trembled. "I wasn't having an affair," she choked out. "But I was disappearing. And I knew I was." I exhaled, waiting. She continued, "I felt like I'd lost myself, Storm. You're stable, kind, predictable. But I didn't feel like me anymore. I met Kai during a team project, and he mentioned he did pottery on weekends. I told him I used to love it. He encouraged me to try again. I didn't lie to hurt you. I lied because I didn't know how to explain that being there made me feel like the version of me I missed. The words sliced deeper than the photos. Then why didn't you tell me? I asked. Because you would have looked at me the way you're looking at me now, she whispered. Like I cheated. Even though I didn't. I swear I didn't. But I knew I was drifting. And I was ashamed. Silence lingered between us like a cold fog. Finally, I said, you should have trusted me enough to let me help you find yourself, not someone else. She covered her face, sobbing softly. I know. And if I've lost you, I deserve it. But the strange thing was, I didn't want to lose her. I wanted to understand what had cracked in us. Something had gone quiet long before Kai existed. I'm not ending this today, I said. But things are going to change. Starting with honesty. No more secret pottery classes. No more lies to protect my feelings. If we rebuild with truth. She nodded desperately, as if clinging to the last branch before the fall. The road ahead wasn't guaranteed. Maybe she'd earn back my trust. Maybe she wouldn't. But for the first time in weeks, the brightness in her eyes wasn't borrowed from someone else. It was raw, real, human. And this time, she wasn't glowing from a lunch date. She was glowing because the truth had finally come home.